Hi, my name is Sienna. I'm a modern Ajumma. I am finally here, caught up, ready to do this mid-year book freakout tag. Did I say that right? The halfway point tag, where you talk about books that, like, while yes, during monthly wrap-ups, I talk about all the books that I read, but this video is the one where I talk about the books that, like, rose to the cream of the crop, that still lingers, that just stuck with me still. I'm going off of Matthew Sherappa's. I gotta stop that. I'm so cheesy. I'm so sorry, Matthew Sherappa. But what can I say? I love the guy. Check out his channel if you haven't already, although I'm sure that you have. He has an incredible Bookstagram account. He works in publishing. He has so many interesting, insightful things to say about books that keeps my eyes glued. And I get so many good book recommendations from him. So my point is, I'm going off of the questions that he is going off of from his mid-year book video, because he is OG enough to know who to, like, tag the original content creators for this tag. Yeah, I have my sketchbook that I've been trying to use more often lately, as opposed to, like, typing everything. I'm trying to write with my own hand more often these days. So I have my notes. I wish I had left-handed reader Renee's, another very good channel. Go check her out, although I'm sure that all of you already do. I wish I had her whiteboard behind me so that it just, like, looks like this. But yeah, let's just start. How's your reading going? Okay. So every year I just put up on my, like, reading challenges. To me, it feels very arbitrary, but I just throw up every year a goal of 100 books and 30,000 pages. So far, I've read, as of, like, the end of June, even though it's technically at the almost end of July. But we're going off the half-year point, baby. So I'll just state that I'm at 74 books and I'm at about 22K pages. So I'm on track. As I said, I feel like this challenge is very arbitrary. I'm a fast reader, guys. Like, I'm a little embarrassed about it too. I kind of feel like those people who drink, like, those, like, extra large big gulp sodas. The ones where, like, I can barely fit in my hand, but for books. I just gobble them up. I don't know how. I think last year I actually tried to tell myself really keep it to 100. I failed miserably. Like, I wanted to, or maybe it was, like, at the beginning of this year, I told myself to just stick to the 100. Yeah, I'm failing that miserably. The stats that I'm more interested in are, like, the size, because I'm such a size queen. I have read 45% of my 74 books so far have been fewer than 300 pages. 50% have been between the 300 to 500 page size, and 5% have been 500 plus, which I really want to work on. Like, that makes a lot of sense. That's just been par for the course every year, and every year I want to try to read thicker books, but what can I say? I'm a medium. But here is where things get a little better. If I can stick to any goal, I really shoot for, like, half and half fiction and nonfiction. And I did it. I mean, like, 51% fiction, 49% nonfic, but I'll take that. And overall, I'm really enjoying myself. I'm feeling, like, especially these past couple months, I'm feeling the eclectic randomness that I aspire to. I feel more and more out of my comfort zone, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun with this variety, with this buffet of books that I've been consuming. Best book of the year so far in 2024. Every year, this is always the hardest question because of so many books that have been read. I've been trying to find another answer to this question, but my brain just keeps going back to Hope by Andrew Ridger. I know that I read Toni Morrison's this year. I've read Natalie Haynes. I've read modern classics like Stoner, Howard's End. but my brain just goes straight to like contemporary lit fic. That can be the only contender for this best book of the year title. And I really, really loved this book. I was really impressed by Andrew Ridker. This was the first book that I read of his. I'm not even really thinking about snippets or like details or particular characters of the book. It's really, and I think this is why I'm saying this book as the best of the year, but the book as a whole is what has remained with me. It's feeling good in my brain. It's feeling good in my heart. It's just feeling good it's feeling so good in me. Why is this video starting like this? It's unintentional. Best sequel you've read so far in 2024. So I haven't read like an actual series. I know that this question is directed more for like the fantasy, that genre readers that Booktube has such an abundance of, but I'm gonna cheat a little bit and just say that the Toni Morrison books are a series of their own. So I'm gonna say Song of Solomon, baby. I'm starting to read Toni Morrison for the first time this year. I started with The Bluest Eye, and then I read Sula, and then I read Song of Solomon. And The Bluest Eye, first of all, that was her debut novel. What? What a debut. My socks were blown off. I was kicking myself for not having read a single Toni Morrison until 2024. Like, shame on me. Like, why did I deprive myself for so long? I'm in my late 30s. Like, why? I could have done better. So I was so wowed by The Bluest Eye. Sula really etched itself into my brain, into my heart. And then Song of Solomon, how could it get any better than The Bluest Eye and Sula? Well, Song of Solomon, I was so impressed. This book is so good. It's like a perfect novel. This is definitely one of the best books I've read this year. Definitely read any Toni Morrison if you haven't yet. I would recommend going in order of publish date as I'm doing this year. But if you, I don't know, can't be bothered for whatever reason, Song of Solomon is a great start. A favorite reread that I had in 2024, while I have been rereading a ton of books in the past couple years, this year I've tried to really keep my rereads to a minimum. But one of my favorite rereading experiences I had this year was back in January. I read Luster by Raven Leilani. I believe I was inspired to do so because of Kat, and we were just talking about it. And I also wanted to reread this for a while since I first read it back in, I want to say 2021. And when I first read this book, I did not get it. I read it for the hype. I was underwhelmed. Or no, I was actually overwhelmed by like the constant millennial like name dropping and just like the whirlwind that is the world of Luster. I felt very I don't know, like punched in the gut by it all. I also just didn't understand the Rebecca character in the book. I did not have a good first experience with Luster, and I knew that a reread needed to happen. Finally did back in January. It especially went a lot better because, you know, I talked about Luster in 2021, but that was when I started this channel. I did my like hand overlay, like reading from a script. I'm not on camera type of videos, which I did for like a solid year, just because I felt so uncomfortable talking to camera, which I still feel, but I guess it took me a year to get over that. Anywho, this time around, the experience was much better because of the conversation that we had in the comments that I had with other people about this book. I finally kind of understood what the point of the Rebecca character was. So it all just kind of connected the dots. The gut punchy feeling that I initially had, it was still there, but that was really more a show of force by the spectacular writing by Raven Leilani. Yeah, if you read Luster and you, like me, didn't really get it, I suggest a reread. If you haven't read Luster yet, I suggest that you do. The hype is real. If like there's a chance, like me, you may feel like you may be a bit too old for this book. However, don't let that deter you, because if anything, you can see how the youths are feeling these days. I'm in my late 30s, but I've always felt like I've been in my 60s since I was like 16, basically. Yeah, Luster, it's a good book. A genre that I've been loving / reading the most by far, it's been contemporary retellings, like whether it's all these Greek myths, but I'm also including other books like Henry by Alan Bratton, which is like a Shakespeare contemporary retelling. I've also read Marple, which is like a modern, like contemporary writers writing their own Miss Marple short stories, and James by Percival Everett, which is like a retelling of Huckleberry Finn. And this makes a lot of sense because it is the literary equivalent of rethinking well-known classics, stories that we grew up on, and instead we're now looking at them with a contemporary feminist POV. How it should have been. Oh, I have a stain. Oh no. How it should have been all along. And thinking of that discourse from the originators of, like the scholarly old white men translating the Greek myths to like the great American novels written by old white men. And it's not that the stories are bad. They're very good stories. They're widely beloved. The point is that we're seeing the story in a multifaceted way today that makes a lot more sense for contemporary readers, to say the least. I've been having a lot of fun with these contemporary retellings. I shall continue to pursue more contemporary retellings. If you know of any that I haven't read yet, please write in the comments and let me know. I am very interested to know what I might have missed. A new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. So I'm going to say Long Island Compromise by Taffy Brodesser Akner. So I heard about her new novel coming out since like the beginning of the year, but then I read like the synopsis and I just was not interested. Something about it kind of made me think of the film A Most Violent Year. It's the one starring Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain, which I found to be so dull. So I don't know, like I love Fleischman is in Trouble. I read that last year, loved it, was in my top 10 of the year. I like her writing, but I'm not going to read a book just because I like the writer, especially if it's a plotty book. I have to be interested in the plot too, and I wasn't for Long Island Compromise. But then I read something that she wrote for Goodreads, I think, like talking about what inspired her to write this novel. And she spoke about like inherited wealth, because I believe the plot is about a rich family who loses their money. She was saying it is a good question. Like, what's better, to be poor and to learn how to survive on your own, or to be born with everything, even if it means you might lose it at any moment? However, what's an even better question is, and this is what got me really interested to read this book now, is she asks, what kind of person would you be without your like inherited trauma? So that perked my ears up so much. Like, my husband and I have been watching The Bear, which that is all about inherited trauma, and I'm so eager now to read Long Island Compromise, just because of that random Goodreads blurb. I mean, like, that's the whole point, right? Authors do that to bring in more readers. Well, in her case, it worked. I'm totally in for this. I don't know when I'm going to read it, hopefully by the end of the year. And what is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I know that everyone's saying this, so it's not going to be like a fun and interesting, fresh response, but Elizabeth Strout's Tell Me Everything. I love the Lucy Barton series. I read them all, I think last year. I really dived in randomly. Like, I started with A William without realizing that it was like third in a series, but it did not matter. I loved it so much. I love Elizabeth Strout's writing. I continue to devour the rest of the series that year, and Tell Me Everything is the final 5th installment. So I pre-ordered her already. I'm looking forward to it. And I've been hearing a lot of people like Nathan from Nathan's Nook, who I believe already read Tell Me Everything. And I think it was his first Elizabeth Strout. Like, he dived into that series with the very last installment, and he had like lovely, warm things to say. So I'm really loving that new readers are discovering, exploring Elizabeth Strout, and getting to know her as the wonderful author that she is. What was my biggest disappointment? So don't come at me because I'm gonna say James by Percival Everett. But hear me out, please. I read James. I did not understand it again, kind of like Lester. But in that video that I talked about James, I asked you all for comments about this. Help me how to think about this. And oh boy, did you guys come through. Thank you so much again. I mean, this is why I do this. Something that happened this year, one of the reasons why I had like a lull in my videos and why I had to do all of this like catching up, is because in short, I just felt like I wasn't good enough for this. Like what was the point to keep doing this? I just had a low moment and then it passed. I would really love to be just one of those booktubers who, you know, years from now, I would be like the Mick Jagger of booktubers where, you know, you'll see like a history of my videos with like regular monthly wrap-ups. That's the dream, but God damn it, it is hard to keep that as a reality. So I wasn't feeling good about my feelings reading James by Percival Everett, and I asked you guys for help. You guys came through. I'm so appreciative of everything that everyone had to say. So I'm disappointed not with the book, but with myself. You know, while I was reading this, I was so ready to like donate this to my library store. They could sell this for like $5 or something. But I'm going to hold on to it because I do think that this is going to be another reread. And I also, while reading this, felt like I don't think I'm Percival Everett's fan. I'm not their demographic. I should just cut my losses. However, I'm spurned on to continue with like a couple more Percival Everetts. And the biggest reason why is because when I'm feeling like there's something that I don't understand, I hate that feeling. I hate feeling like I missed something. I don't want to just read something once or experience something once and have that be the end all be all. I want to be very thorough in my investigation. So that is how I'm taking this question of disappointment. It's me, it's not you. For real. Biggest surprise, Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. I did not have it in my 2024 reading bingo card that I would read a Jenny Slate book with a Clarice Lispector. Is that who it was? Clarice Lispector epigraph with like such a lovely, very thoughtful, very like compassionate and sensitive book from that like screechy sounding woman that we know on screen. And I was so surprised to find her as like a beautiful writer, a beautiful thinker. Yeah, and I really enjoy this cover as well. Like, look at this turquoise bra and the brontosaurus. This was lovely. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? I know that this year I've read like Toni Morrison for the first time, Patrick Radden Keefe for the first time, but like, look at this chart. It says it all. Natalie Haynes is my bitch this year. I love her so much. I read her, I think I read her book that came out this year, Divine Might, for the first time. That was my gateway Haynes. I read it back in February, loved it. And then I just continued to race through every other book of hers, predominantly on audiobook, which she reads herself. And it's so lovely. While I want all of her physical copies, I just have to read her books via audiobook. Her vocal performance is great. The way that she writes beloved Greek myth characters like Athene, for example. I love the way that she writes Athene. Just so petty and so like literally born yesterday. And 1,000 Ships is my favorite Natalie Haynes that I read this year. Although I love them all, I sincerely do. My newest favorite character. I believe this question kind of replaces that, like, who was your favorite crush character of the year? And whether it's my favorite character or favorite crush, it would be the same answer. It was Helen from Howard's End by E.M. Forster. I mean, I knew that Helen is like the character, you know, like the vivacious, like the sparkling champagne character of Howard's End, played by Helena Bonham Carter in the Merchant Ivory film. opposite of like Emma Thompson's stoic, like stiff upper lip Margaret. And I love Helena Bonham Carter in A Room with a View. So I already had that like expectation in my head for the character of Helen, but it was that much more of a delight, like reading Helen on the page and finding the book character to be like even better than 80s, early 90s Helena Bonham Carter at the height of her ingenue fame. Helen is just that like manic pixie dream girl, well-meant liberal white woman who tries to help people out of principle, but then like actually when it comes down to it actually does something. Like righteous indignation is her entire personality. I love her so much. I love Howard Sand so much. Ian Forster is just so good at writing characters who feel so alive despite how much of a trope they may technically be on paper. Yeah, I loved Howard Sand. Not just because of Helen, but Helen definitely had a huge impact in the reading experience. I believe like 2 years ago when I read A Room with a View, I said that another character in that Forster was my favorite crush of the year. So that's what I mean. Something about Forster's writing, his characters just have so much magic. A book that made me cry. So I usually cry like at the drop of a hat, but for whatever reason this year I didn't really cry at any book other than Stoner by John Williams. And I guess it was to be expected. However, it still like kind of surprised me when I did cry like as hard as I did. And it was surprising at like the part that I cried at because I was fine. I was fine for like the, first 70%, 75% of this book. Like all of the, little annoyances that build bigger and bigger to like the final audacities of, what happens and the tragedies that he endures. Like I was fine. And then in the final, 20 pages or so, I was like bawling. I was snot-nosed crying at the part when his daughter is telling him about her life and him you have to assume that he's kind of realizing this is my legacy and this is her life. There is a lot of waste in this story of so many what could have beens. I said in my wrap-up that I don't think that Stoner's life itself was a waste. It was actually, I felt, a story of incremental success, but that doesn't change the fact that I cried a lot, that this book is very sad, and that this book is very good. I've been dancing around reading Stoner for so long, and I finally felt ready, and it delivered. A book that made me happy. Women in Clothes by Sheila Heti, Heidi Julavitz, Leanne Shapton, and 639 others. I read this back in January as a Libby ebook, and I enjoyed it so much. I knew that I had to get a physical copy that I ordered from Thrift Books, which I proudly keep the sticker on. And what made me feel so happy about this book is that it is a story of so many women, of so many people's mothers, sisters, and what they think about clothes. You would think that this should be a documentary, like a visual medium, like on screen. And I love the fact that they chose not to do that, because that would shift the focus into what the women would look like in clothes. But that's not the point of this book. The point for this book is what women think about clothes. And yeah, it's a little long. It's a lot of back and forth, Zoom interview chats that have been transcribed. Yes, it, could use a fair amount of editing, but overall, I really enjoyed just reading everything, looking at everything, seeing all these people's treasures, and reading what normal women think. Overall, I'm just feeling very grateful for the existence of this book. It felt really artistic and very loving. A lot of care went into the making of this book, and that just made me really happy that there are still people out there doing the good work. The most beautiful book that I bought or received so far this year. Home at Last, Enduring Design for the New American House by Gil Schaefer III. Yeah, I did not expect to purchase this book. I borrowed it from the library just because I saw it while I was like browsing through Barnes and Noble, and I liked it so much that when I had to return the book back to the library, I was like, no, I think I need to own this. I mean, first of all, the cover looks so beautiful. Like, don't you want to just sit there, read a book, chat with your friends over like a beverage of choice? And then the actual contents of this book is just as like well made, thoughtfully made, like interesting. I'm definitely gonna just ignore the fact that these homes are like the most expensive homes that you'll find on this earth, and we're talking about extremely rich people. And instead I'm gonna focus on the fact that these homes were made with a lot of thought behind them, a lot of care, and made by people who are the best of what they do. And when you're like reading something and looking at things that have been made by people who are at the top of their industries, that feels really special. That feels really beautiful. I found it really interesting reading about how he went about each of these projects, like each of the houses that he designed for his clients, what his thought process was, like juggling between what the clients want and what makes sense and and what's practical, and how he makes it all like cohesive and looks stunning. This is definitely a coffee table book. Probably Nancy Myers owns this book. Ina Garten owns this book. And now I own this book. What books do I still need to read by end of the year? So I'm gonna refer back to this note that I made back in January when I made my like 24 for 24 video for the first time. Like, I wrote it, I made that video. I have not looked at this piece of paper since I made it. And I know I veered way off course. So let's see. I did a 24 and 24, and I split it up into like 4 groups of 6. So the first group, I wanted to like contain my new releases. So I pre-ordered Martyr by Kaveh Ekbar, Alphabetical Diaries by Sheila Heti, The Anthropologists by Aishgul Savage, Henry by Alan Bratton, Grief is for People by Sloane Crosley, and Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. I pre-ordered all of these. I read all of the books that have come out since then. So check. Ooh, I'm looking good so far. I know that's gonna go downhill very soon. Authors. I wanted to read 6 authors this year. Rachel Cusk, who I did. Allie Smith, who I did. Toni Morrison, I did. Jeanette Winterson, I have yet to. Natalia Ginsburg, I have yet to, and Edna O'Brien, I have yet to. All right, so 3 out of 6, not bad at all. I wanted to read these classics. Villette by Charlotte Bronte, I have not. Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh, I have not. The Odyssey, the new translation by Emily Wilson, I have not. However, I do own the audiobook, which is read by Claire Danes. I'm very eager to start that soon. I wanted to read David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I have not. And you know what? I'm probably not gonna. Like, I had some, for whatever reason, like, I think it's because I, like, love the movie so much. And, like, the newer one with Dev Patel. He's so hot. But yeah, that feeling's kind of gone. It's a little out of sight, out of mind situation here. But, yeah, Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I have not. And any Thomas Hardy, I have not. So 0 out of 6 for the classics. And last but not least, I wanted to read these NYRBs. I wanted to read a John Williams, which I have. J.G. Farrell, I have not. Elizabeth Hardwick, I have not. Kingsley Amis, I have not. Magda Szabo, I have not. And Eileen Chang, I have not. Ooh. So yeah, another 0 out of 6. But you know what? Even though I'm not exactly at a 50% level, I'm okay with that. Like, you know, who really cares? I mean, this is a guideline, right? And it's not like a business proposal. However, out of this, I do think that I still really do want to read a few of these. Like, I still definitely want to read that Emily Wilson's The Odyssey, since I'm very into my Greek contemporary retellings. Yeah, I think, I don't know, like for some reason, Kingsley Amis feels like a summertime going into fall, like transition-y author of those books, given those vibes. I don't know, if you know, let me know. Definitely want to continue with more John Williams. I'm definitely going to keep continuing with my Toni Morrison reading journey this year. I have Ali Smith, The Seasonal Quartet. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Autumn, but not so much for the rest. I read There But For The a few months ago. I did not understand it. I was very disappointed by that. But I think I might start Autumn. So original, this autumn. And I am continuing more Rachel Cusk. So far I've read Arlington Park, which is a fiction, and A Life's Work, which is a nonfiction. So far I gotta say that I prefer Arlington Park over A Life's Work, but I do want to try more of both her fiction and her nonfiction, as I'm hearing like so many divisive opinions Cusk, and I want to have my own. So that's where we stand with that. Favorite vid that I posted this year. This is the point where I tell you very sincerely, thank you so much for watching any of my videos, because they're long and I don't even watch them. I mean, I watch them while I'm editing them, but after I upload, I don't watch them, and I don't remember what I say about what I've said in any of them. So thank you to those of you who like really watch them. But I mean, I have to say, the ones that don't really get watched too often, which are my vlogs, are the ones that like I end up watching the most, because my child loves to watch my vlogs, and that's the biggest reason why like I don't make the standard like talkie vlogs, because the vlogs that I make are mostly for my family to watch, who are like all over the globe, and also for my child to watch. He's been watching my vlogs like, you know, ever since I made them, since he was a little kid, and he still watches them still, and he like, you know, looks back on his childhood. They're like home videos at this point. So I guess those are my favorite, and I felt like I kind of had to stop making those vlogs. I want to say I made those vlogs back in like 2021, 2022, when my kid was like younger, and I really enjoyed making them. I mean, I would of course include like what I'm reading, like what I highlighted and all of that. But it was mostly like life stuff and things that I didn't want to forget. And I also just wanted to capture my kid when he was that age. And now that he's older, I feel like I shouldn't. And just now our lifestyle is so that it's a little harder to make it look that interesting, because everything is pretty routine at this point. And that's why I stopped. But every now and then it's really nice to just like sit back with him and watch some of those videos and relive those memories. Unfortunately, the music choices that I made are like god awful, because I just did not care about music. I like music, I don't love music. And finding like copyright free music was the biggest chore. So that was another excuse for me to stop. But I do have to say that like my most recent vlog, the one that I call Pada vlog, which Pada means ocean in Korean. And that was like when my aunts who live in different countries came to visit, and we went on a road trip, and it was really nice. I feel like it's one of the better vlogs that I did. Yeah, like feel free to watch them. Just keep in mind, I don't make them for you. I make them for my family. And they take so long to edit and make, and they have like the least views, but none of that really matters. I'll still try to do those types of vlogs here and there. For example, I'm gonna go on a family trip to Hawaii pretty soon, and I'm probably going to make a vlog then. I love Hawaii. It's so pretty. And I do hear a lot of people talking about vlog making, like how hard it is, how time consuming it is, and how rewarding it is to have that exist for them to look back on. And I love watching other people's vlogs. I mean, like Nathan of Nathan Snook is like the king of booktube vloggers. Just his editing, his eye, his taste, you know, all the fun stuff that he gets up to. It's just so good, so pleasing to watch. It's like a Sunday morning ritual at this point to wake up to one of his vlogs and like watch it while eating breakfast. And with that, what a segue into the final question, which is favorite book community members. And, you know, I really wish that I had Diamond from Jaded Diamond's BookTube Purity. She was saying that she watches like pretty much exclusively BookTube on YouTube. Like, wow. I have to admit, I don't really watch too much BookTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, but I waste way too much time watching a lot of beauty YouTube. And because I'm going to Hawaii soon, like for the past 6 months, I've been watching a lot of like Hawaii food and travel content creators. Just because, like, I mean, in the span of like a year, things have opened and closed. So I want to know like what's new and what's still around on the island. Diamond was saying how she like felt so good when I like mentioned her in one of my videos, and she like couldn't believe it because she's been watching my videos, and knowing that I watched her videos, she was, you know, like, which was so nice to hear. And like, hi Diamond. And it just took me back to when Ben from Doom Antidote like shouted me out like that in one of his videos. I was literally screaming, like tears were coming out of my eyes. And not only was he talking about me, but he was talking about my vlogs, like my, you know, the vlogs that not too many people watch. And he was just saying like how he loved watching my vlogs. That's probably when the tears were streaming. And I remember when Alex from What Page Are You On also shouted me out. I mean, like, Alex is just BookTube king as far as I'm concerned. I also couldn't believe that he was watching my videos, and just the fact that he makes it a habit to watch like smaller channels in particular and shouting them out. So I want to do that as much as I can, given how actual little BookTube that I watch. And like, I'm not the greatest of BookTube community members because I do admit guilt to a bit of lurking. Like I already watch so little, and then the little that I do watch, I don't always comment on. I'm so sorry, but just know that I'm watching and I'm liking every single video that I do watch. So I want to shout out Hadley Queen. She is not a like typical booktuber. She's an artist, and her channel is made up mostly of like sketch with me's and like creative day in the life type of videos, but she is still solidly talking quite a lot about books. Like, she collects vintage books that she finds from thrift stores, and like her grandmother's collection of vintage cookbooks and like vintage children's books. And she also reads some lit fic herself. And just as an artist, like, part of being an artist is actually to read a lot and having like your much treasured collection of reference books. Oh my god. How much time I spent like scouring for art books and reading so many art books back in college. But her videos are just so cozy and like very comforting. Those are two words that I often hear from other people describing my channel. So if all of that interests you, I highly recommend checking out Hadley's channel. Another booktuber I need to shout out is Alex from the Disco King Official. He is so close to 1K, guys. I want to push him up way past 1K. Like, I know I've said this before, like to him and elsewhere, but I'm so jealous of how good he talks and what a good talker he is. I'm not a good talker myself. I'm not a great articulator. And he's just so smart, and it's not even like the books that he reads, I read. Like, he focuses a lot on like the Booker Prize list books, I guess. And I mean, like, even his taste in general doesn't align with my own really at all. I'm always so interested in hearing his thoughts and his hot takes on what he does read, and I just find him so entertaining. So yeah, he is great booktube content. Please go and subscribe to him at once. And I want to shout out Noor from Nora's Bookshelf. She actually just hit 1K, I think. And I just always found her to be so cool, like so smart how she speaks of books, like very grounded, very well-rounded with like all the various interests that she brings into her content. Like, you know, I only talk about books really in my channel because I read so damn much that I don't want to make like, I don't want to upload like 2-hour-long videos. I have to cut it down. As much as I would like to talk about other things, like I'm really sticking in my lane, I suppose. But the way that Noor talks about books, I'm like really envious of how she is like able to talk about everything, like her whole life, like her family, you know, what music she's listening to, what she's eating, what else she's consuming, and how all that just like mixes into her reading life. It's always so cool. She's so interesting. You're gonna love her. Please check her out. Check out all of these booktubers that I mentioned in this video, by the way. I try to like, you know, add their handles at the bottom of the screen if I ever like mention anyone. But yeah, really everybody that I spoke about, I just love their personalities. So that is the key. Like I love all of their personalities so much that I'm interested in hearing them talk about anything, not just books. I find them all very real. Like I feel their passion for whatever they're talking about. And I just generally feel like more eyeballs should be on them. And yeah, like they all actually have different reading tastes than me, which is great because that's a great way for me to hear about other books that haven't been on my radar, and like I'm getting different takes and just seeing what's cool right now, like what people are talking about right now, and a reminder that people are cool. I'm not a hermit, but if I were to be, they're great examples of people. They're great examples of why, no. God, why can't I talk? Yeah, they're just great people. They're cool. They're very cool. And I think they're very cool and that you should probably watch them because you'll probably find them cool. And I know that it's kind of late for this video. I'm not like saying I tag you to do this video because like I'm one who definitely understands that we live busy lives, and I'm just not going to tell people, hey, make this video. So all I'll say instead is you should check these people out. I think they're great. I had 2 coffees just before recording this. I hope that and I feel so incoherent right now. I really hope that this video turned out well. Usually I write like a kind of tentative script. Like I don't write and read out word for word, line by line what I write, but I do have like a thing in front of me to go off of so that if I lose track, I can refer to it. But this time I just wrote like the question and the answer, and I would just expositate on that. But I have to remember that never goes well. And that's how things become a little chaotic. Or a little like random and incoherent. So, oh God, I also think I was slouching the whole time. Like, yes, I did. Guys, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I am still so bad at this. But that should only tell you that if you want to be in BookTube, go ahead and start. Literally nothing is stopping you. If you have a phone, if you have internet connection, if you have a, you know, laptop with photo booth like Ben has been doing, which I tried doing, but I cannot talk. I will just start a sentence and I will forget immediately the end of that sentence, and yeah, no one wants to see that. So we are like well into summer. It's feeling fine. It's going great. I'm about to pack for my trip to Hawaii. Probably have a vlog coming up with like July wrap up, and we're getting into, oh my God, we're getting into the school year again. Fuck. So we're doing it. I hope I become the Mick fucking Jagger of BookTube, and I'll be an old lady with years of monthly wrap-ups under my belt. And I sincerely hope that I watch videos where I'm seeing people say, I remember when Modern Ajima implored that I start a BookTube channel in this video, and Maybe I'll be the grandma, the grandmother of BookTube. Oh, I can't wait. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video. I really mean it. Thanks for hanging out with me, talking about books as we do. And please let a girl know who has been your favorite booktuber. Like I need to watch more booktube. I need to stop watching stupid videos about like the, fall Chanel collection. About like stupid eyeshadows. Tell me what other booktuber you think that I would like, or like a bookstagrammer. Help a girl out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one very soon. I swear. Bye.